So, a quick backstory as to why we have what we have. This space is a second story at my house, and it was just attic space. It had never been finished, and my mother-in-law became ill and needed to move in with us so we could take care of her. So, we built this into a pretty nice space. It's a nice upstairs apartment. Um, it has all the features you could possibly want. The problem was she was not going to be able to come up and down on her own through the stairs. So what we did was when we finished this space out and created it for her, we tore the original staircase that was in here out, and I built this little lift. Now this lift was built in a hurry. It was built over the course of just a few days because it's all the time that I had to get it available for her to come up and down. Now, I admit we've been using it now for over 20 months, and it seems to work real well. But I just want to show you a couple of the quick features of it because I am in the process of gathering the stuff to totally rebuild this lift. So after having used one for 20 months, you learn a lot about what you want, what you don't want, what safety features you need to have, and things like that. So over the last 20 months, I know everything that has to be done just about to this unit to make it reliable. There is maintenance, and it was a maintenance that we literally performed once a week. And then I found better lubricants to use for the cables and things so we could take that time out to, anywhere from 10 days to 14 or 15 days before we had to service the lift. I try to do it at least twice a month, though, because it's only safety. This is just a standard Harbor Freight winch. Not really a winch, it's a lift motor. This one is rated at 1,320, I think it is, 1,320. So what I did on it is I pulled the cabling off of it, all of the cabling that was in it that worked it up and down. And I found out which wires did what inside the unit. And so I came in and added a remote control unit. That's this piece right here. So the part that's on the right is a remote control unit. It allows me to have a remote upstairs or remote downstairs. I can call it up. I can call it down from downstairs. We can call it up from upstairs. And it just makes it a lot easier than having to worry about the cable stringing around. I'm not going to show you much about how this is wired because in the new version of my elevator control box, I'm still going to end up using one of these because this is a brilliant unit, but it won't handle a bigger lift because of the fact they draw too much current through it. So in the new control boxing system, I will have relays and some extra safety relays that I don't have here. I've realized through the last 20 months that we need another set of safeties on here that we don't have. One of them is in the event that we have a problem with this up switch right here. So let's just say that something happens and this switch for some reason went bad. What would happen is nothing would tell this to stop, and it would literally just yank that part off. And probably at some point it would end up breaking itself because it has nothing else that it could do. Now, if somebody's on it, we would notice it long before that happens. And we do have a stop button on our remote. We have an up, a down, and a stop. So we can stop it at any point. But I don't like leaving that in the user's hand. I prefer to leave that in the hands of the control system. So in the event that switch doesn't make a quarter of an inch later, the new control system will actually kill power to the whole lift. That gives us an up and a down that is almost infallible. If this one doesn't work, if this one decides it's not going to work correctly, then what will happen is it won't send the signal that cuts it off. But with the second one on, we're going to have this making much further down. And if it doesn't make within a quarter, it'll hit the next one, and the next one actually cuts off a safety relay that's built inside my relay box. But that's all for the next rendition of this bad boy. So All of this will be torn out. One of the things that I would do different that we didn't do on this one is I would use solid 20-foot sticks of the of the channel instead of using the 10-footers. So I have 10-footers on here now. And if I had to do that again, and we're going to change those out for 20-footers so there's no seam at the bottom. I hate the seam. All of my guests hate the seam. We've done everything. We've ground it. We've cleaned it. We've oiled it. We've greased it. We've done everything to keep it from making a bump when it comes off of that. And that's only about 3.5, 4 feet up when it makes that bump, but it's enough to where it's unnerving. This pulley has to be maintained on a very regular condition because it does have 2 single points of failure. I did have a cable that ran through and around, so in case the pulley snapped, it would actually catch. But my safety that I'm using now, I had 2 of these safeties on, but just a few weeks ago, one of them's return spring snapped and let the cable out, and I haven't replaced it. But in the testing I did, one of these was enough to cock. In the event that the cable broke, it would actually cock the platform sideways a little bit. And when it did, it would actually bind it in the channel. At least that's what it did in testing. It would bind it in the channel. So, we had 2 of them, which gave us 660 pounds. In this case, I only have 330 pounds that it could possibly arrest. That arrestor could arrest 330 pounds. But in reality, if it drops in about 1 inch, it actually catches. And then with one connected, what it does is it slightly skews the platform, and then that platform becomes jammed. And so that will actually hold it up, until you can get it down from there. So lots of things I want to talk about in the maintenance of this. Today's not the day for that. I just wanted you to get an overview of what the system looked like. We're only going 8 feet between floors, so it's not like we're going, 100 feet in the air. I tested this initially with 600 pounds, and what I did is I literally I had a rope tied to that pulley and cut the pulley, and at 600 pounds, both sides caught, and both of the fall arresters caught, and they caught within 1 inch. And that works real well. And I had one time where we did have the bottom switch go bad. So the reason I say we need more than one safety is we did have the bottom switch go bad. And when it did, it got all the way to the bottom. It didn't cut off. So it unspooled the cable at the top. And as it continued to spool, it spooled back on backwards and brought the lift back up again. Now, my mother-in-law was 88 years old. She didn't know what to do. So I literally had to get up out of my chair, run over, push a button, and get it to stop. But what it had done is it came all the way back to the top in the reverse condition. Well, in that reverse condition, this switch is not active because this is the up switch, not the down switch, and it was waiting for the down switch to activate. So when it got to the top, it snatched that little guy off the wall, and when it did, the whole thing slipped. And as it slipped off, the fall arrestor is what caught it. That fall arrestor cable, it literally catches in just a very few inches. And so that really saved us that day. But the new elevator will have an Otis style brake on it. From another side, I will credit the guy who designed that. And then we're going to fix the pieces about this one that we don't like. And then I'm going to give you lots of tips and tricks on what you do with one of these bad boys. If you're going to keep it in long term, what can you do to make it as safe as possible? Because again, I know the trolls are sitting out there right now. They can't wait to come on and tell me what an unsafe elevator, how many single points of failure that I have, and all of that stuff. I am totally aware of what we have and what we don't have. I also am totally aware of the probabilities of something happening. And I know just like the bolts coming out of the 737 aircraft and blowing a door off, it is always something I could have missed. But we've done our due diligence to make this as safe as we can. We have a way to turn it off on the way down. We have a way of turning it off on the way up. We have a fall arrestor that will catch it. We have, the unit is rated for, 3 times more weight than we will ever have on it. And I keep the cable checked to make sure we don't have nicks or broken strands. I keep it oiled and greased and all of the things that have to happen to make this run. So we've done our due diligence, but we had 4 days, 5 days to get this bad boy together to use. And my mother-in-law has passed away now, and we're going to build this into a more robust elevator system. She was a small woman. She didn't weigh but about 90 pounds. And so we weren't as concerned as we are now about making sure that it is super reliable. We wanted to make sure it didn't fall was our big deal. I wanted to show you this part right here. What we found very quickly was if the power browned out and came right back on again, that literally the remote control unit could become, its little brain could become scrambled. When it becomes scrambled, that's a problem, because this thing came on randomly by itself and disregarded every switch on it when that power flickered off during a storm one night. So what this guy does right here, this guy, when the power drops below 105 volts, it instantly turns power off to everything, and that power stays off until power has come back on and been restored above 105 volts for longer than 3 minutes. And since we've had that in place, we've never had a problem with that unit again. So like I said, we've learned all the things, or almost all the things, that are going to cause us grief, and I've tried the best I could to find ways around it. But enjoy this video. It was only intended for you to see what we have done and that we have used it. So all the people out there scaring you to death, don't let them scare you too much, because I promise you, this bad boy right here has been super reliable for more than 20 months. And I'm not scared of it today. I'm out to 600-800 pounds that I'm willing to put on it, and still know that I have a really nice cushion of safety. So anyhow, y'all stick around, because I'm going to do another video when we get the new one up, and I'll show you all the improvements we've made and all the safety we've added. All right, a couple things I'd like for you to see. First of all, let me show you this piece right here. Basically, when I clean this cable, and that's one of the maintenance items we have to do on a regular basis, is clean this cable. The cable wears on itself, so you need cable oil that'll get in between the strands and actually keep all of that lubricated. It needs to lubricate the sides where it breaks over the sides, and it needs to lubricate the face of the pulley. But when you're doing all this cleaning, when I clean this, the oil tends to run down onto the wood. So I like to just fasten on a piece of paper towel. So when you guys decide to ask me about what that is, this is not a permanent feature of this. This is something I do because when I'm ready to service it, or I am servicing it, I don't want the oil dripping down and running down the wood. So really, otherwise, there's nothing there but a hook going through an eye bolt. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me. I'm glad that you guys got to see what we have, and I can't wait for you to see what we're going to be doing in the future. You guys hit like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.